Before they were borders, before the word Nebraska was spoken aloud, the land woke slowly. Dawn came not as a sharp moment, but as a soft unfolding. Pale light crept across the Platte River Valley, touching the frost-laced grasses first, then the cottonwoods that lined the water's edge. The river lay wide and shallow, its surface smooth as glass, mirroring a sky brushed with pink and gold. The Platte did not rush. It spread itself thin and patient, as if it had learned long ago that endurance mattered more than speed. Mist rose from the water, drifting low and white, carrying the chill of night away. Birds stirred in the reeds. Somewhere, unseen, a meadowlark called, its song clear and hopeful, cutting through the quiet like a promise. This was a place of balance. Sky and earth met without resistance. Nothing blocked the horizon. The land did not rise to challenge the heavens. It opened itself instead, vast and honest. Here, time felt slower, shaped by the steady rhythm of seasons rather than minutes. The wind moved through the grass in gentle waves, bending each blade in turn, whispering stories no one had written down yet. The land remembered even when people did not. This was Nebraska before it had a name.
By mid-morning, the sun climbed higher, and the Great Plains revealed themselves fully. Grasslands rolled outward in every direction, stretching so far that distance lost its meaning. There were no fences, no roads, only the soft undulation of prairie and the immense sky above it. Clouds gathered and drifted, tall and dramatic, casting slow-moving shadows that traveled miles before dissolving. The wind never truly stopped here. It brushed across the land like a living thing, carrying the scent of earth and grass, pressing against bodies, shaping thought itself. Silence existed, but it was never empty. It hummed with insects, distant bird calls, and the low sigh of grass bending in unison. To stand alone on the plains was to feel both insignificant and deeply connected. The sky made no effort to comfort. It simply existed, vast, impartial, endless. Those who lived here learned humility quickly. The land did not bend to desire. It asked for patience, awareness, and respect. Storm clouds sometimes formed without warning, rising like mountains in the distance. On other days, the sky stretched endlessly blue, broken only by thin white streaks of cirrus clouds that seemed painted on by a careful hand. This openness shaped everything that would come later. It shaped how people thought, how they endured, and how they learned to measure themselves, not by what they owned, but by how well they understood the land beneath their feet. Long before wagons scarred the soil, before iron rails cut lines across the plains, the Platte River belonged to the people who knew it best. The Pawnee villages rose near its bends, their earth lodges strong and round, built low against the wind. The Omaha and Ponca followed the river's guidance as well, understanding its moods and seasons. The Platte was not merely water. It was a path, a provider, a teacher. Children learned early how to read the land. They knew where the grasses grew tallest, where the animals crossed, where the river would swell in spring and retreat in summer. Elders spoke of the sky with reverence, of storms that carried power and lessons, of stars that marked time and direction. Clothing was made from what the land offered, soft hides, carefully worked, decorated with meaning rather than excess. Warm earth tones blended naturally into the prairie, a harmony rather than a contrast. The people moved with the seasons, not against them. When the bison traveled, they followed. When winter came, they prepared. Survival was not conquest, it was relationship. Ceremonies honored the balance between human life and the world that sustained it. Songs carried across the plains at night, rising into the sky like smoke from a sacred fire.
Hold steady.
The land listened.
Children are scared.
It always listened. Sometimes the ground itself seemed to breathe. The bison came in numbers so great they darkened the horizon. From a distance, they appeared as a moving shadow, rolling across the prairie like a storm made of muscle and fur. As they drew closer, the earth trembled beneath their weight. Thousands upon thousands moved together, massive bodies, curved horns, thick coats catching the golden light of afternoon. Dust rose in clouds around them, turning the air amber. The sound of their hooves was deep and steady, a rhythm older than memory. The bison were life on the plains. They fed the people, clothed them, shaped their tools and stories. Nothing was wasted. Every part had purpose. To hunt the bison required skill, patience, and respect. It was never done lightly. When the herds passed, the grass eventually rose again, richer for it. The land healed itself, as it always had. Balance was maintained, not through control, but through understanding. Standing at the edge of such a herd, a person felt the power of belonging to something vast. Individual lives mattered, but they were threads in a larger design. The prairie, the river, the bison, the people, they were one story. The land watched as centuries passed. It saw footsteps fade and return. It felt fires burn and grass grow back stronger. It heard laughter and mourning carried away by the wind. It learned every name given to it and every name forgotten. The Platte continued its slow journey eastward, reflecting sunrises and sunsets without judgment. The plains remained open, waiting, not passively, but patiently. Change would come. It always does. Wheels would carve deep lines. Smoke would rise. The sky would witness joy and suffering alike. But for now, in this moment before everything shifted, Nebraska existed as it had always existed, wide, resilient, and alive beneath an endless sky. And it remembered. The first wagons appeared like ghosts on the horizon. They came slowly, pale shapes against the immense blue, their wooden wheels creaking under the weight of everything a family thought it would need to begin again. Oxen pulled steadily, heads down, muscles rolling beneath dusty hides. Men walked beside the teams, reins in hand. Women rode when they could, walked when they had to. Children learned early how to keep pace with hope. The Platte River guided them, just as it had guided countless travelers before. Its wide, shallow course offered reassurance, water nearby, grass for animals, a path through uncertainty. The trail followed its bends, worn deeper each season by the passing of feet, hooves, and wheels. Dust rose with every step, settling into clothes and hair, into the corners of eyes and memories. At night, wagons formed rough circles, fires flickered, and the prairie darkness pressed close, vast and watchful. Stories were told in low voices, of farms left behind, of land promised ahead, of relatives who would never see this place. The sky above them felt impossibly large, its stars sharp and cold. Some travelers found comfort in that immensity. Others felt small beneath it. The land did not greet them. It did not resist them either. It simply waited. Wheels broke. Animals fell ill. Storms swept in without warning, flattening grass and soaking supplies. When thunder rolled across the plains, it felt as though the sky itself were splitting open. Lightning carved bright lines through darkness, and rain turned dust to thick, clinging mud. Illness traveled faster than wagons. Graves appeared along the trail, simple markers, sometimes nothing more than a pile of stones or a carved name. Families moved on because they had to. Stopping meant falling behind, and falling behind meant being alone. Encounters with Native people were moments of tension and uncertainty, shaped by fear and misunderstanding. Some meetings passed quietly, marked by cautious glances and shared space. Others carried sharper edges. The land that had sustained many now held competing claims, and the ground absorbed the weight of those unspoken conflicts. Yet still they moved west, driven by the belief that endurance would be rewarded. The Platte flowed on, indifferent to their struggles, reflecting the same sky it always had.
Not all who followed the trail continued onward. Some stopped. They looked out over the grasslands and saw possibility where others saw emptiness. Under laws that promised land to those willing to work it, families staked claims with measured steps and hopeful hearts. Wooden posts marked boundaries that had never existed before. Building a home was an act of defiance against the elements. Trees were scarce, so settlers cut the earth itself, stacking thick slabs of sod into walls that smelled of soil and grass. Roofs were heavy, doors low. These homes were dark and cool in summer, bitterly cold in winter, but they stood. A lone farmer might pause at the door of such a house at sunset, surveying land that was now, on paper, his. Tall grass rippled in the wind. The sky burned orange and red. Hope felt real then, even as exhaustion pressed deep into bones. The prairie did not give easily. Breaking the soil required strength and patience. Blisters formed, tools broke. Rain came too late or too much. But seeds were planted, and sometimes green shoots rose in defiance of doubt.